Hi, good afternoon. And you are watching the Seed Show on Relax Radio. And as promised, we are going to talk about the belief system, which plays a key role in how we think. And it's like the blueprint that is somehow running a machine or something, the recording. So, as usual, I have Mark Fleming with me. Thank you, Mark, for joining me.
Very welcome. Lovely to be with you.
So, how was your week, Mark? How have you been doing?
Well, like everyone else, probably flown by, as weeks tend to do that. But it's a week of experience and discovery because being on a more spiritual directed path, and studying the self and reading spiritual things, there's always chances for the deeper insights, and then seeing how they can be applied in practical life. So.
Mhm.
Yeah, I find every week adds something new to the journey of discovery, and also, of course, challenges. Life
Yes,
wouldn't be without challenges.
yes. Particularly at this moment in time, we have so many challenges. I was
Mm.
just reading a poem written by a friend, an acquaintance, I would say. I met her through a training, and we've been in touch and friends on Facebook. Her partner died recently. A lot of people are dying, Mark, and when you open social media, the sense of death everywhere from COVID. So how do you actually maintain your mind during this really tough time? And
Mm. Yeah, I think that's a really pertinent question for the current time because obviously India, especially, is going through a lot of ordeal regarding, excuse me, regarding COVID. Some other countries too. Europe and the UK have already been through some tough times with that. I think there's a couple of things. Firstly, is what you're opening yourself up to in the sense of the media, social media, and just to bear in mind that media and social media automatically brings you the most extreme pictures and views because that's what
Mhm.
it's all about. They're not going to show you something which is mundane or ordinary. So just to be aware that anything you see has been selected to have an impact. And I'm not downplaying anything at all, but I'm just making it clear that that is the purpose of media. The
Yeah.
whole idea is to emphasize things. So I think it's important to filter what you see and what you hear through a process, through an understanding. And that
Mhm.
understanding, I feel, is to understand that there are these scenes, there's no doubt about them, and they're tough, and a lot of people going through great ordeals and challenges.
Mhm.
So rather than reacting and feeling sorrowful or fearful, all the kind of expected emotional reactions one could go through, I think a higher level response is
Mhm.
to see, to hear, and then to ask, well, okay, what can I do to help?
Mhm.
And of course, physical help, everyone will know what they can do in that department if they so wish. But I'm talking especially about spiritual help,
Mhm.
mental help. And one of the key helps we can give is try not to react, try not to feel the sorrow, because, and I know this can be quite kind of
It's a
contradictory.
challenge. It's a huge challenge.
It's a challenge, yes,
Yeah.
and in some way it goes against conventional wisdom. It goes against what's culturally or morally expected, because often we're brought up to feel the sorrow of others. But actually, if I feel the sorrow of those who are in sorrow, I'm not helping them at all.
No.
I need to feel peace and share peace. I need to share lightness and love, not feel what they're going through, understand
Mhm.
and have compassion, but share those core qualities because that's the need of
Mhm.
the time.
That is very true. But at the same time, Mark, I'm very mindful of how I feel and what I'm doing. Well, at least I try to. So I've realized that when I see somebody else's sorrow, it triggers my own loss. It brings back. the memory of the loss that I suffered in my life.
Mm.
And somehow then you connect with this other person through your own pain, which is kind of not healthy. Like you said, if you want to uplift somebody else, you have to be in a better position and not feel the sorrow, because the moment you feel the sorrow, you feel your power has been depleted. You don't feel so resourceful, um so loving, so caring anymore, because you are in pain. So what to do at that moment? The moment I feel my triggers and my loss, and then sometimes it comes back in a multiple folds.
Yeah, I think there's the twofold approach. One is in the moment when you get hit, as it were, by a wave of sorrow, a wave of internal reaction because of what you've just seen or heard, what someone's told you.
Mm-hmm.
And so there and then to immediately have a thought, well, this is what someone's sharing, this is what someone's telling me. Now I understand, I'm tapping into my own sorrow. So what else can I think instead? What's the best thing to think?
Mm-hmm.
So to direct the mind to something more constructive, more fruitful, and really ask yourself, well, what is the need of this time? Is it helping
Mm-hmm.
me? And the reason for having these very conscious kind of creative questions is it's like you're challenging the knee-jerk emotional reaction.
Mm-hmm.
Because unless you actually challenge the direction or flow of your emotional energy, then it's just going to
Mm-hmm.
be that repeat pattern which always happens. Hear of something sorrowful, feel sorrow, tap into my kind of
My own
subconscious,
sorrow.
my own sorrow, yes,
Yeah.
and there it goes again. And so we really need to interrupt that pattern, and questions are one of the most powerfulest and most effective ways of doing that. So that's one way, challenge it in the moment.
Mm-hmm.
And and the second way is to give attention, give time to your spiritual empowerment on a general level. Myself, I meditate every morning, every evening, and for a few minutes here and there during the day.
Mm-hmm.
And so meditation is empowering yourself generally from the inside. It's like charging your battery. Just like if you have a torch, if you don't,
Yes.
the time of there's an emergency, there's a power cut, and you look for the torch, but you haven't checked it for a year, and it's flat
Yeah.
battery,
It's
so
not
it's not
functioning.
functioning. No, so you have to charge it up. And so in the same
Yeah.
way, we have to charge ourselves up. So we've got some inner strength to use at the time of need.
The other thing is, which is very very real um, at this point in time, and that is fear of
Mm.
catching the virus yourself, and the fear of passing it on to somebody else. So how, I mean, you mentioned meditation, and also keeping yourself fully checked, fully empowered, so that when the occasion demands for it, it is already ready, and you are equipped, fully equipped to deal with it. In terms of fear, and there's a possibility that we could catch it and pass it on to somebody else. How can we? Is there any way we could, through meditation and through positive thinking, perhaps also boost our immune system, so that we are physically, biologically also strong and fit enough, actually, not to let it harm us?
Yes, excuse me. I think there is. Yes, um, as you rightly said, it's the fear reaction can reduce our immune system,
Yeah.
and to a great extent, that's based on stress. And so most people live in a ongoing state of stress because there's always something that there seems to be to worry about, be fearful about. And I
Mm-hmm.
think it's good to be aware of that and acknowledge that we're habitually reacting. Some people say, oh, I'm worried because there's nothing to worry about. So if you ever get to that position where there doesn't seem to be any worries, you're so used to worrying that feels unnatural to be free from worry. So you're worried.
I think this point is actually kind of linked to the belief system, because
Mm.
as I was growing up, I loved a good laughter. I still do. It makes my day. But we are often told, don't laugh so loud. When you laugh, the next phase is going to be cry. So there was a guilt, kind of guilty conscience that used to say to me, it doesn't affect me anymore. Um, I am cured now, but in the past it used to. Every time
Mm.
I had a good time, every time I had a great laughter, I used to think, oh, I shouldn't have. I used to feel guilty for feeling happy, for feeling, for laughing.
Yes, well, some of that's all cultural, and because different groups of people, different times have had all sorts of cultural expectations.
Yeah,
Kind of young ladies were particularly expected to behave in a particular way, and often laughing too loudly in public was deemed to be not right and proper of a young lady.
not appropriate behavior. No, not
That's it.
ladylike.
Exactly, yes. I even remember my sister getting told off sometimes for being a bit too in public, but laughing or joking too much in public.
Not only in public, Mark. It was also inside your own house.
Right. Okay. Well, then of course, it's even they suggest it's an even deeper expectation.
Yeah,
But I think yeah, there is those kind of background fears and worries because of all of this kind of conditioning that we've grown up with, and the people who've conditioned you or
yeah,
conditioned me, they have simply passed it down the line that they would have been conditioned by their parents who were conditioned by their parents before them. So it's like a wave that goes through the family, society, the nation, and wherever that wave is, that's the current conditioning of the time. Um, so you have to kind of accommodate that, and but I think with understanding.
mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think we have to navigate our way according to the norms of the time. I don't really see any point in upsetting a load of people just because I want to be different. You can be different. Um,
Quietly.
yes, you can. I mean, it doesn't mean that you have to be meek or timid, but sometimes, I just remember some of my friends that they were different, but they wanted to kind of announce their difference with a loudspeaker and challenge other people. Kind of, I'm different, and you're all rigid and square, as though people used to. They use that terminology in my younger days. You were a square if you were conformist and,
I see.
and establishment.
A nice terminology.
Yes. So some people might remember those times. Um, so I mean, it's just an avenue to, or an idea to be different, and because you do need to find your own expression and find what's comfortable to you, and at the same time kind of accommodate that society is working in its own way as well.
That's
Um,
true.
what I would like to just reconnect with before I can completely lose the thread of it,
Mm-hmm.
that earlier question about how to deal with the fears
Yeah.
uh, that we often subject ourselves to.
Mm-hmm.
I really think it's worthwhile to look at the self and acknowledge that I do have a lot of subconscious fear based reactions, and they're being used all the time. And
Mm-hmm.
if you analyze what fear is a defense mechanism, and it serves you very well because the whole idea of fear, just like pain, is to tell you there's something alarming. So you need pain in your body, even though we don't like it. But if you've got pain,
That's the
you
purpose.
automatically, yeah,
Yeah.
it says this needs attention. You
Mm-hmm.
can't use your hand or foot in a normal way because there's something wrong with it. So it's important. And emotional pain, like fear, is also a very natural and healthy thing to experience when something's wrong. But where the problem is when it becomes conditioned, when it becomes habitual. And so if I ask myself, what am I actually fearful of? What's this fear protecting me from? And very often the fear is keeping me away from actually seeing some deep-rooted lack of self-esteem, low self-worth. It's like there's an internal unhappiness with myself, and I'm holding a state of low self-value. And if that's the case, which I think it is for an awful lot of people, then I've got all sorts of defense mechanisms superimposed over this lack of self-worth. And I'm living my life on the basis of those defense mechanisms and never really dealing with the root cause, what those defense mechanisms are trying to protect me from, which is to feel my lack of self-worth, because
Wow.
it's a very painful
That's
thing to
amazing.
experience.
That's amazing. So it is almost like a mask.
It's a mask, absolutely, yes.
Yeah.
And
So
unless you
that,
do that work, and I say
yeah,
work means that unless you actually take time to look at yourself in a deeper way, you
yeah,
can actually literally live your life to the very last breath and
yeah,
never realize that what's the driving force in your life. It's the defense mechanisms are taking you this way and that way, or taking you away from opportunities which could lead to great success, because those
yeah, yeah,
opportunities are seen as possible places or things which could cause you to shame, or could cause you experiences of loss. But
yeah.
actually, they may well be things worth pursuing.
Wow.
But
It's
it's all,
amazing, Mark.
yeah.
It's like mind blowing.
Mm.
I remember attending some courses, and people were asked to write down the things they fear. Some people had fear of success, not only
Mm.
fear of failure, but also fear of success. And I often wonder, what does it actually mean? Why would you be scared of success? Then they were saying it is because other people who would have expectations, and then they would have to meet other people's expectations in helping them in doing this and that. And it never occurred to me that it is actually masking the fear of low self-esteem. Sorry, not fear, the low self-esteem and self-worth. That's
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah, so if you actually take that example you've just given, fear of
Yeah,
success, and because of the fear of having to fulfill other people's expectations. But if you
yeah,
look underneath it, fulfilling other people's expectations, you could just say yeah, no, or you could fulfill them. It's a very simple thing. But underneath it is a fear: I'm not good enough. I don't have it
mm,
in me. That's the and that fear of fulfilling other people's expectations is a surface defense mechanism. And so I will
wow.
sabotage myself,
Yes.
because why would, as an organism, as a person, why would my consciousness put me in a place where I'm ultimately convinced I'm going to feel
Mm,
lesser, or of no value, or of inferior? So if that so-called success contains a big ingredient of possible low self-esteem, which is what I might feel,
hmm.
then I'm going to sabotage myself. And so many
Wow.
people do it. I think we've all done it, actually. I know I can
Ah,
think of many times I've done that to myself.
that is so interesting, Mark. I'm gonna write it down on a piece of paper where I can see it every single day. So every time I feel fear, I need to just go within and check that where am I feeling lacking, isn't it? So probably fear that I'm not good enough. For example, if I were to apply for a senior level job, so the fear is that I'm not good enough and I'm going to embarrass myself and I'm not going to succeed. Is that
Yeah,
what you would say?
yeah, exactly. Yeah, all of those thoughts are coming from a state of low self-worth.
Wow.
So, but the thing is, we're not seeing that state. We're more experiencing those thoughts, and they feel reasonable. That they feel sound logical.
And valid.
Valid, yes.
Yeah.
So you
Wow.
believe them.
So
So
I suppose, what would be the antidote, if it makes any sense?
yeah, definitely, it makes a lot of sense, and there is an antidote. And as we started off, the introduction is connected to beliefs. And so, what I believe about myself, and just to clarify, when I'm using the word beliefs, I'm not talking about religious beliefs. I'm talking about the belief systems in your consciousness. So those belief systems, in other words, the what you feel, or like inner programs, often people have described them as kind of subconscious programming, a lot
Yeah.
of which we've just taken on board from a younger age, especially up to 7 or 9 years old. We just absorb them wholesale, and many we've picked up through education, through life experiences, and so many times they become just self-fulfilling. And everything we do is pretty much being driven by these subconscious programs. And so many of us have programs which are really not helping us, in the
Yeah.
sense of, on one level, they're helping us, but they're protecting us based on a falsity. They're protecting me from experiencing or feeling the inferiority or lack of self-worth, but actually they're not really helpful, because I need to get to the bottom of that and transform it. And so yes, and so by recognizing that beliefs are dictating pretty much all of my life, and the way to recognize them is to see that you've got a self-image, and the self-image is the way you see yourself. Or I remember one person put it very nicely: the way you think other people see you. Yeah, it's a bit different. Way you see yourself is one thing, but a more reality check is the way you think other people see you. Yeah?
So which
So
is the right way? The way you think you see yourself is the right way to see yourself?
the way I see myself, I could use imagination, wishful thinking, or, or many different criteria can become involved. But if I just observe, how do I feel or think other people see me? And of course, it will be different with different people. But
Yeah.
if you just scan the people that are important in your life, how do you think they see you? Because that will give you a clear indication of the deep rooted belief systems you've got. This is my experience anyway, rather than asking myself, well, what do I think of myself?
I see. But then it depends on who, for example, in a relationship, if you're in a relationship with a narcissist, he's never going to see you in good light. So that would be a disaster.
That would be a disaster, yes. Yes, that's why I think you need to take a kind of a general look.
Someone more neutral
Yes, and I
with
think
some virtue.
yes, or you could, I suppose you could ask yourself, like, even without thinking of any particular person, like,
Yeah.
how do you think people, plural, people see you? So you're not thinking of any individual one. So that way you avoid the extremes, like if you're in a
Yeah.
relationship with a narcissist, you gave that example. So obviously that's the result you're going to get there is not going to be a very good
Not
one.
a
Nice
positive
one.
one, no. You lose every bit of self-esteem that you have if you ask
Yes.
a question in relation to narcissist. We're going for a short break, Mark, and we're going to come back and continue around the belief system, and we'll examine it, and hopefully we'll change it today so that we don't unnecessarily create problem for ourselves.
Certainly.
So everyone, please keep watching. We're going to come back soon. we're back again. Thank you for staying with me, Mark, and thanks to the viewers. So yeah, you were talking about how others see us. That's one way of checking.
Yes. So by just evaluating what my
Mhm.
thought is, my feeling is of how I'm generally perceived by other people, that will give me some idea of what kind of self-image I've got.
Mhm.
And you can easily know, for example, if you go for a job, um, then how do you, at what level do you price yourself? And when I say price yourself, because
Mhm.
we give ourselves a certain value. So in every job, there is kind of low, medium, and high, and very high in the
Yeah,
pay grade. And some people just walk in and they price themselves to the top. That's it, and there they go. And it can be exactly the same job as you're doing. You're doing it for like 50, £10 an hour, and another person is getting 500 or something like that,
very
something
true.
ridiculous. Maybe that's a bit extreme, but uh, the reason why I chose job is because monetary value is so clear to get an idea of how we value ourselves. And I'm not saying that we should all price ourselves kind of to some astronomical figure, but
Hmm.
what I mean is it's all about what you feel your value is. And so if you're looking for work, for example, and you're only targeting low paid kind of work,
Ten
why is
pounds an
that?
hour job.
Yeah, so why is that? Yeah, and I'm not demeaning anyone's level of occupation or earning levels or anything. All this whole subject is about what's working away inside of me, and am I going for work or occupations which and the only reason I'm going for those particular ones, and the only reason I'm answering those adverts is because these are in the pay bracket that I can relate with. I'll
Hmm.
give you one example is it's in a lot of the self-improvement books how the people who win lotteries within 3 years, say multi-million pound lotteries they win, within 3 years, 95% of those people have lost all of it almost,
Yeah.
and they are back down to their kind of standard income or savings level. And the simple reason is they had all this money, but that amount of money wasn't compensated by changing their consciousness.
True.
And so the consciousness always wins. The money had to go. Now, how it went, it was conned out of it, bad investments, spent it, gave it whatever it went one way or the other. And that 5%, they adjusted their consciousness.
Very true. Very true. I on the subject of how other people perceive you. I have a very exciting and interesting experience, actually, Mark.
Hmm.
Um, I had a coach about 2, 3 years ago. I had a coach from Tony Robbins' team, and I was talking about certain issues with the coach, and the coach said, "Why don't you look at yourself through my eyes?" That's what she said, and I thought this is quite interesting. So my daughter was next to me, and she heard, and she said, "Yes, mommy. Why don't you look at yourself through my eyes?" So I thought that is quite interesting. So I said to her, "If I were to look at myself through your eyes, what would I see?" And then she goes, "You would see a hero." And I thought that was really mind blowing. But she was quite young. I'm sure she's not going to say the same thing now. A couple of years ago. So yeah, I think it depends. Some people could actually uplift you because they hold a higher vision of yourself. The
Yeah,
way
that's a lovely experience. And it's so beautiful as well. She said she sees you as a hero. It's
yeah,
so
she's
good.
using she's seeing me as a hero. I need to check with her again. What does she see me now as?
Well, yeah, I'm probably also a hero. Still a hero. And I think you've touched on something that very often we, not everyone and not all the time, but I think there's a tendency to see others as more confident, more equipped, more successful than ourselves.
Very true.
Yeah, and so we easily compare ourselves to an image we are perceiving, whereas the other person may have all sorts of misgivings
Their
and
own worries. Yeah.
uncertainties. Yeah, their own worries.
Yeah. Once I was doing a program on how to speak in public, and the speaker was telling people where to stand, how do you hold your hands, how do you po- stand basically, and where your eyeballs should be. And by the end of it, I felt so exhausted. And I said to him, you know what, I'm gonna apply what I know. And he goes, what do you know? I said, I focus on the message. What message do I have to convey? Because I was at that time I was working for a local government, and we used to have these huge meetings every single month. Then you had to talk in front of other people, and I used to have these butterflies in my tummy, thinking, oh, how am I going to say? What am I going to say? Am I going to say the wrong word?
Mhm.
Then I thought, I can't torture myself like that. I need to focus on the message. Does my message have any value? If so,
Mm.
it doesn't matter how I say it. As long as I say it, that's all that matters. So I stood there in front of 450 people or 500, and I said, you know what? I don't care about my eyeballs. Don't look at me. I'm just going to say what I want to say. And I stood there and I did share my message, and it was quite powerful because I forgot. I forgot about me. My focus was on others. How my message could benefit others, if at all.
Mm. Yeah, that is really powerful. And it just shows actually where your attention lies, so
Yeah.
your energy flows in that direction. So get the attention off the kind of worries about the self, the insecurities and whatnot of the self,
Hmm.
and in that instance, yeah, focusing on the message. Then you're more liberated. And I think sometimes they say in public speaking, just think you're speaking to one person, even if you're in front of 1,000.
Yeah.
I don't know
But
if
then
that
you're
would work
supposed
on.
to, because then you disengage the rest of the audience. So you're supposed to. I don't know, Mark. I'm not a speaker, and I paid good money for that
Right.
public speaking course, but I think I'm back to basic. What I
Yeah.
started off with, and I don't care so much about my eyeballs, and and where my hands are, because the
Mm,
moment I bring all the focus on myself, then I feel the butterflies.
yes.
So I stick to the message. If I have a message, I'm going to stand up and I'm going to deliver. If I don't have a message, I really don't have to be there, do I?
Well, no, that's right. That's the whole. That they're listening to you for. They're listening to you because of the message that you've got to share,
Yeah,
and because you are sharing it. In most cases, it's because of. It's a combination of you and the message.
absolutely.
Sometimes it's just if someone's just if a newsreader is there, people are there because they just want the message. But if it's about experience, they want to hear from you specifically.
Very much so, yeah. Yeah, so on belief system, Mark, so if you'd like to say a little bit more, um,
Yes, I could actually just came back in my mind that there was one train of thought I was having to an earlier question
mhm,
about how to protect ourselves from something like uh, COVID or any
any
impact on
other
the body
diseases,
or
yeah,
any other diseases. Of
yeah,
course, um, nothing is fail safe, but I am aware of that psychosomatic connection, the mind over the matter, and that
mhm,
an awful lot of health conditions are either created or agitated by the mental attitude that we have to it. And there's one particular person came to my mind because I often give this example when I'm asked this kind of a question, and that's Nostradamus.
uh-huh,
He's
yeah,
normally famous for his prophecies, but
yeah,
a lot of people don't know about him. Is that he was a great physician, a doctor of his time, and this was during the Black Death, the plague, of Europe in the Middle Ages, I think 1400s and something. And he was remarkably good at curing people. The thing which touched me was that how can someone like that go into people's homes and cure them of this bubonic plague without catching it themselves? And the key is an attitude of being a healer. Just like
Yeah.
doctors should be the most sickest people in the whole world, because what do they see all day? Sick people, isn't it?
True.
That's what a doctor sees. But they're no more sick than anyone else. And why? Because they have the attitude of healing. So when you have an attitude of healing, this actually creates a kind of psychic protection for you. So how
Mhm.
can we employ this? And I think one way is to cultivate an attitude of good wishes, an attitude of uh, kind of spiritual protection for others. So to recognize your own value as someone who has positive thoughts and good thoughts, and actually send positive, good vibrations, good feelings, good thoughts to others. Like, for example, for India, uh, what we're doing in a lot of the meditation centers we have is to very consciously send these vibrations of peace and love and energy to India every morning and evening. So when you do that, it kind of builds up your own strength also.
Mhm. Because in order to send it to somebody else, you feel it beforehand, don't you?
You do, yes. And I know some spiritual leaders, if someone's suffering from kind of waste thoughts, negative thoughts in the mind, they often instruct them, well, go and do something good. Because and I've experienced it myself when I've had a kind of negative emotions or feelings or a bit low, and I've just engaged in helping other people.
Mhm.
It's like a switch. It just, as soon as you're involved, it just changes your mindset, and suddenly you're different headspace, more energetic, positivity. You get the best wishes or good wishes from others, which also helps.
It
And
does.
so it's a wonderful remedy for so many ills.
This is so true. I read a saying by Mahatma Gandhi,
Mhm.
and he said, if you want to if you want to find your true self, lose yourself in the service of others.
Mm.
And I found it to be true.
Yeah, it's beautiful, isn't it?
It is, because
Yeah.
when you lose yourself in the service of others in order to help someone, you also grow quite significantly. You learn things really super fast because you are trying to solve a problem, you are trying to solve somebody else's pain, you are trying to direct someone to somewhere. You learn super fast, and then and also your focus not so much on um, what am I getting, who am I, and how is it benefiting me. Rather, how can I benefit this person who needs my help. You just learn so super fast, and you don't even realize. And then people around you notices, they notice and they tell you, so wow, you have become so good at it, you are so natural, you so this, you are so that.
Mhm.
And then you realize, yes, I think I've learned quite a lot by trying to help this person, by trying to solve this problem. And that is so amazing.
Isn't it? Yes, it's just it just shows the kind of natural inbuilt mechanism or quality that of being of service to others, of uh, helping from the heart. It kind of makes you selfless, and selfless means kind of free from ego. And as
Yes.
soon as we become free from ego, then the natural qualities in the soul emerge and can shine. So it's a wonderful way.
On a on the note of being selfless,
Hmm.
I I've just realized that, Mark, it is actually self-care. So recently I got involved with raising funds for destitute women. I'm part of a charity. I'm an ambassador for a program called Sisterhood for Humanity. I entered with an open mind because I was never involved with raising any funds, and then I had a lot of issues, etc. I trust, like, whether the fund is going to go to the right people, etc. I had all these questions in the back of my mind. But as I joined in, I'm just now connecting with people from all walks of life, and well, there is so much energy, positive thing that's coming out as a result of this
Mm.
involvement. And also, I feel different. Yesterday, I was reading something, and it said, why don't you leave things to the universe? So I needed to um, I needed to get more people to join. We are having a virtual iftar party, more people to join in, and I didn't reach out to enough people. It's my fault. So I was thinking, please guide me. And then I made a few phone calls, and amazing, amazing. How many
Mhm.
people are willing to donate? How many people are willing to be part of this great thing and wanting to help others? And how many people said to me that, oh, I'm so grateful for what I have today. I'm in a far better position than someone, for example, in Syria whose houses have been bombed, or someone in a Rohingya refugee camp who have nothing.
Mhm.
So yeah, there's so much power there. But I think a lot of the time, like you said, it's the belief system that's saying, oh, am I good enough to persuade someone to
Mm.
donate, for example? And I think I had this question on the back of my mind for a long time, and also what people are going to think about me. Are they going to think I'm involved with some scam or something? So should I ask, should I not? All these unnecessary questions that bothered me, and I wonder where they came from. Some belief system that I'm not good enough, Mark. I didn't realize that before.
It's good now. It's uncovered something inside, and
Yeah, now I need to know, now that I've uncovered that I do have these thoughts that I probably am not good enough. I need to do things that makes me feel I'm amazing, I'm wonderful. And also for the viewers, so I'm talking in first person, from first person's perspective. It doesn't mean that I'm talking about myself. Also, people who are watching, how they can apply these principles, and also how they can discover what is masking what fear is masking.
mm. Yes, I mean that. I think what you were describing there is fear of rejection, which
Yes.
is a very deep and powerful emotion, and it's. I suppose it's one of those core fears for a human being. I think, like as an infant, we have two main fears. Well, one is of abandonment, because
Yeah.
abandonment means you could die, and the other one is the fear of is it not being fed or not being sustained? Not sure, but certainly abandonment is one of the biggest fears, and so that often translates, if it's been activated, that
Hmm.
fear by certain circumstances or ways of treatment, where the child has been led to believe, or has been able to believe that abandonment is a possibility,
Hmm.
then that's a very deep psychological impact, and that can still play out for a great deal of our life, if not all of it. And so I think fear of rejection stems from that area.
Hmm.
So, how to remedy fear of rejection, um, uh, and fear of abandonment. And of course, abandonment is connected with self worth. If I have low self worth, then that's the reason why I could be abandoned. If I have
Hmm.
high value, then
Hmm.
there won't be fear that I'll be abandoned. Why would I be abandoned if I am worth a lot? Yeah, so it's all connected. And I think one of the simplest ways to re-establish self-worth is to actually understand self. And that's where
Hmm.
we come back to this core aspect of what we call soul consciousness, the understanding of the spiritual self, the spiritual being. And so, as the self, the soul, as we call it, then there's no question of abandonment, because the soul is eternal, immortal, is non-physical, and by
Yeah.
nature is loving, peaceful, powerful, pure, benevolent. And so there's so many wonderful attributes about the self, the soul. And so it's when we spend or actually invest a little time to understand and then experience the self as a conscious being, a soul, then holding that awareness can automatically lead to the liberation from these feelings of abandonment, not being good enough, rejection,
Mhm.
etc. So it's really like going to the core and empowering the self from the inside out. Otherwise, if I adopt other means of like kind of uh, connections, relationships, activities, platforms, or titles or qualifications, well, they've all got um, their own importance, but they can all be used as supports, which
Mhm.
and I'm still not doing the core work which is needed. And I think that's
Wow.
a very important place to give attention.
You touched on something that that is of quite a lot of interest to me, which is children who have felt fear of abandonment and
Mm.
also fear of rejection, because it's devastating if you're a child. And that also impacts, as we know from science, that impacts the physical growth of the brain, physical
Mm.
development of the brain, and also some functions of the brain as a result of this early childhood trauma. So someone who
Mm.
experienced it, um, what can they do in order to, now we heard of neural plasticity, which is a great thing because the brain can repair itself. So
Mm.
what would be something they could do in order to repair the damage that's been done, and also the psychological impact that they are carrying, probably knowingly or subconsciously, into their adulthood and rest of their lives.
Yes, and it's deep stuff. At the same time, it's very simple. Um,
Mhm.
if we go with the foundational understanding, or you could even say belief, that the self really is a spiritual energy, Ru or Atma, soul, and that the intrinsic qualities of the self, the very baseline level is love, peace,
Mhm.
happiness, uh, strength, wisdom. So these are the virtues of the soul, the intrinsic virtues. And I especially use the word virtues because virtues remain the same.
Mhm.
Values can change according to culture, religion, time, and place, and
Mhm.
all of that. But virtues are the same for everyone. And so we are all peaceful by nature, loving by nature, wise by nature, and so on. So if I use that understanding as a foundation, kind of direction, then
Mhm.
to bring about the change I want, it's actually not so much to try and become something that I never was. It's about reviving that original nature. And
Mhm.
here we need to understand how consciousness works. Whatever you focus your attention on, you are automatically feeding that aspect of yourself.
The
So if
energy.
I, yes, so if I focus on my
Mhm.
shortcomings and weaknesses, well, guess what? They're going to grow. But if I focus on what I am, on I am a peaceful soul, I am a loveful soul, then
Mhm.
that will grow. Grow in the sense it will be brought to the surface of my awareness, and then I'll start to feel it. So
Mhm.
my perspective is yes, I am a soul, I am peaceful and loveful by nature. Now I
Mhm.
need to bring that to the surface so I feel it on an ongoing level and live from that place or that awareness. And that's a journey of understanding, a journey of practice, journey of reflection, like that.
That is so amazing, Mark. Um, I guess when we understand our behavior, when we're aware that why we are behaving the way we are behaving, then we can do something about it. So awareness is the starting point, then understanding why we're doing what we're doing, like fear, what is it masking? What is the underlying cause? And addressing those causes and then trying to rectify. And the third thing is to, like you said, practice something regularly so that your
Mm.
battery is always charged, and when it's needed, it's already there, available, and you can tap into it and deal with whatever challenges life throws it in our direction. On that, Mark, I just wonder if you have time for a short meditation. I know we are going to finish at half one today, and I just wanted to say to everybody who is watching or listening to us, please click the like button so that next time we are on air, you get the notification and you don't miss out. Even if you don't understand the whole concept, it took me many years to understand this stuff. So I appreciate that this is not easy. But if you want to make a lasting change in your life, if you want to feel more happiness, more joy, if you want to be more than who you are now, then probably this is something you want to listen to and you want to revisit, because the recordings are going to be there. Revisit and see, take notes. I used to take lots of notes, as you probably would remember, Mark. I
Yeah, so
have those books. I used to write down everything, and I rewrote so many times the same stuff in order to get it registered, in my head. So without further ado, we are going for a short meditation, and once we come back, we are going to take our leave for today.
so take a deep breath in and breathe out slowly, relaxing completely. Wherever you're sitting, just be comfortable but alert, and allow your whole body to completely let go and relax. Relaxing your feet and your legs, your pelvis, tummy and back, chest and shoulders, arms and hands, everything relaxed. And relax your neck and head and eyes and mouth. Now come to the awareness that there's you, the living being, thinking, the thinking, feeling being, all happening somewhere in your forehead. And while being in this relaxed state, really appreciate that there's an aspect of the self who is listening, observing, evaluating, categorizing. And that aspect of the self also has the power to control the mind, not just to evaluate what's there, but you can actually create the thoughts you want to have in your mind. So imagine now that you are this living energy. Imagine being the spiritual power, the Ru, the soul or Atma. Imagine being so peaceful. That is a very peaceful soul. As if peace is the makeup of your very fabric of being. Just imagine that the very core of you is a state of peace. how would you feel being surrounded by peace, filled with peace? And not only peace, but a deep sense of love, a state of love. Imagine feeling so much love and appreciation for yourself, the wonder and beauty of you. And imagine how it would feel knowing that other people saw you as wonderful, magical, amazing. And from this energized, empowered state of awareness, cast a thought to the whole world, and in particular those places or countries that have need of love, compassion, energy. And share your peace, share your love, share your concern, knowing that every thought of peace, every thought of love reaches its destination. It is subtle, but it is powerful, and it's very real. Your thoughts are reaching those in need. Your thoughts of love and concern are empowering your own self and your immediate family. So who are you? A very loving, very peaceful, very powerful, giving soul. And for the rest of this week, to maintain, whenever you can, that attitude. I am a valuable soul. I am a giving soul. Om Shanti. I am peace.
Thank you, Mark. That was so wonderful.
Thank you.
I'm feeling it. I'm feeling the peace.
Wonderful.
I hope people are still watching us. There are some people, and those who watch the recording, please practice and see how we feel. And if you have any questions, some people made comments which I didn't read out before, but I showed on the screen. And those of you who are watching, if you have any question, you can. I'm not going to take calls as yet because I don't want the flow to get lost. So we'll continue just sharing the information on screen. But if you have any question, you can type it out, and we'll try to answer. So thank you once again, Mark, and
Welcome.
thanks to everyone. I'm going to
Yeah.
take my leave. Mark, do you have anything to say to people who are watching?
Well, thank you very much for tuning in, and whatever you liked, whatever particularly touched your head and your heart, that's the thing to work with, because there's a resonance there. And to always remember that at the core, you are peaceful, you are powerful. And thank you very much, Siddiqa, for providing this wonderful service.
Thank you, Mark, and see you everyone this time next week in the same place. Have a wonderful week, Mark, and wonderful week to everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.